So Granit Xhaka is leaving Arsenal this summer, and Arsenal and Mikel Arteta have set the condition that one player in midfield should be signed before Xhaka leaves for Bayer Leverkusen. Personal terms have already been agreed, and I think that should be the end of a 7-year spell at Arsenal. One of the longest-serving players at the club right about now, a leader, a player that is loathed and loved by the fans. Arsenal have already lined up a few names that we're going to be discussing in this video who should replace Granit Xhaka at Arsenal, including Ike Gundogan, Declan Rice, Mason Mount, Gabriel Viega, Julian Brandt, and James Madison. Join me in the comment box below. I want to get your thoughts here. Which one player do you think best replaces Granit Xhaka at Arsenal? Ike Gundogan, he's got the Premier League experience, 32 years of age as well. He's a winner with Manchester City. Declan Rice is the future of midfield, of central midfield in England, for me. Mason Mount has troubles with Chelsea, prefers Manchester United, but Mikel Arteta has listed him as one of the players he would love to sign. Gabriel Viega has had a very good season with Celta Vigo in Spain. Julian Brandt will be leaving Borussia Dortmund. He's been there for quite some time. And James Madison, a long-time target for Arsenal. Which one of these ones would you prefer to have in midfield alongside Odegaard and Thomas Partey instead of Granit Xhaka? Hit the like button, subscribe to the podcast as well. Let's get this video to 500 likes. And of course, we are back for the summer. Now, listen, I think there's so many mixed reactions with Granit Xhaka leaving. A few Arsenal fans feeling this is the time. We have seen the best of him. We should stay with him for another season, maybe 2 more seasons. And I tell you what, I don't have a problem with Xhaka staying at Arsenal as a squad player. If he can stay at the club, probably we bring in Declan Rice, and then Xhaka comes off the bench in a few games, maybe plays in Europe on some occasions. I wouldn't really have a problem with that. But Granit Xhaka is not willing to wait on the bench. It's either or. He either starts or he actually leaves the club. And Mikel Arteta is well informed about the situation. He's also well informed about the decisions the player has actually taken. And for me, right about now, I'm not going to be delusional and I'm not going to be deluded. This might sound a little bit harsh, but I think it's time up for Granit Xhaka. It's time for him to try a new adventure, go somewhere else. At 30 years of age, there is still some football in him. So if he goes to a club like Bayer Leverkusen, I think Leverkusen are quite a very good club. They're under Xabi Alonso now, and they've been really playing very good football. If he goes in there, he will fit in very, very well. But Arsenal's ambitions right now and the kind of pressure we're going to be demanding, it's not Granit Xhaka's levels. It's going to be higher levels, right? We're going to be looking at Premier League titles in the next 3, 4, 5 seasons. We're going to be looking at the UCL, a title that we have not won in our lifetime. We're going to be looking at winning the Champions League for the first time ever. That is a lot of pressure, right? And I think we will need someone with more quality. So for me, when you look at all these players, Gundogan, Rice, Mount, Viega, Julian Brandt, and James Madison, I think the one thing that I want from each and every one of these players is the ability to score goals. Ike Gundogan has been scoring decisive goals for Manchester City, 2 against Manchester United in the FA Cup, just to make sure that they're still on track for the treble. James Madison, 10 goals for Leicester City this campaign, despite the fact that they are relegated. Rice is the lowest goal-scoring midfielder on this list, because you look at the likes of Mason Mount, last campaign not a good one, but the campaign before that he had actually scored more than 10 goals for Chelsea, and Gabriel Viega has got 11 for Celta Vigo, making sure that they are not relegated. So one thing I want in a central midfielder, be it Santi Cazorla, be it Luka Modric, be it any of the players you think about, ability to score goals and create chances. For me, it's all the other qualities, all the other, set of qualities comes later. If you can score, if you can create chances, you're fit to be a central midfielder. You're also fit to be, an attacking midfielder as well. So let's look at the options. Number one is Ike Gundogan, who is on top of the list for XHAKA replacements. Of course, Arsenal's priority this summer is Declan Rice, but in terms of replacing XHAKA, according to David Onstein, Ike Gundogan is the player. And again today, David Onstein has been saying that Mikel Arteta is still hoping that his connection with Ike Gundogan, that also helped him to sign players like Alexander Zinchenko and Gabriel Jesus, would actually lure Ike Gundogan to Arsenal. He is the priority. Now, my problem with Ike Gundogan, I have two problems with this signing. One is when you sign Ike Gundogan on top of Gabriel Jesus and also on top of Alexander Zinchenko, that is more like us being Manchester City B. And that is the problem. And I've always thought that at some point in time when you do that, you're going to get kind of lost within that identity of Manchester City. Whenever we play Pep Guardiola, we never play Manchester City, and we have so many players from Manchester City, it's not going to be hard for Manchester City, for Pep Guardiola to figure out, to figure it out against Arsenal, because many of these key players, Zinchenko, everybody at City knows how Zinchenko plays. Gabriel Jesus, everybody at City knows how Gabriel Jesus plays. And if you add Ike Gundogan, it could be more like a watered down version of Manchester City. That is problem number one. But then problem number two is the age. He's 32. He's going to demand 2 more years, which shouldn't be a problem for Arsenal, given the experience and what he would be bringing onto the table. But that means that we will need to replace him quickly. Now, that's a positive and a negative as well. The positive is you bring in an Ike Gundogan, and you also sign a player like maybe Gabriel Viega. So Viega lands from Ike Gundogan. I mean, there are not so many players you want to learn from in central midfield. Maybe Toni Kroos, maybe Andres Iniesta, maybe, right? Xavi, and then, Ike Gundogan, right about now. So I have a problem with Ike Gundogan, but his game and what he offers are very far away from the problem. He's a goal-scoring midfielder. He's good at creating chances. He's got the ability to score like 20 goals in a campaign in all competitions, even at 30, 32, 33, right? But I look at this as more like a Willian kind of signing. He comes in from Chelsea. He's been electric, but then he's in his evening days. You don't know where and when he's going to, capitulate. That's the problem I have with Ike Gundogan. But I'll take him at Arsenal. Winner, we will need winners. Like, we will need real winners to boost the spirit. He's also a leader as well. He's the captain at Manchester City right about now. So I would take him at Arsenal, to be honest. I would take Ike Gundogan. I don't think there is a problem with this deal. The likelihood that this happens is a 3 out of 10 in my opinion. I think he would be looking at Barcelona as a priority. Second option will be Manchester City to stay at City, and then the third option would be signing for another Premier League side, which would be Arsenal. I think the problem at City is that they don't want to give him that beautiful decorated contract, 2 years plus plus another year if he wants to extend, or if he does well. That's the only problem Ike Gundogan has with Manchester City. Now, option number 2 is, of course, Declan Rice. That means that Arsenal would have to sign a defensive midfielder in Moises Caicedo or Romeo Lavia, and then we'll be using Declan Rice as a central midfielder. Hell no. Now, I disagree with this, right? I think everyone has their own version of Declan Rice. Everyone has their own understanding of Deckers. When I look at Declan Rice, his strongest attributes are not goal scoring. His strongest attributes are not, making assists and creating chances. His strongest attributes as a footballer are breaking up play, intercepting, tackling, and winning the ball back. And in Arsenal, if those are your best attributes, I think you're best suited for defensive midfield. You're best suited to sit at the heart of that defensive midfield. I see him more like a Lodri. I see him more like that kind of player who, loves to bombard forward. No problem with that. But then he's got that composure as a leader, to sit at the best of that midfield, pass the ball. He's got the passing, the passing range. He's got everything you need in a DM. to be honest, right? But I think this season, what we've actually seen him doing at West Ham alongside Lucas Paqueta is he's played more in that kind of advanced role where XHAKA has been playing this season, like more like box to box, but this time, with the ability, with the freedom, with the guarantee to arrive late into the penalty area, or at times even remain in the penalty area and receive those very, very good chances. But if he's going to replace XHAKA, I don't think 90 million is what we should be doing for him. Right? I don't think we should be spending 90 million on Rice to replace XHAKA, because there's so many other options that we could look at. You could look at Sandro Tonali for around 50, 60 million. You could look at Nicolo Barella for around 60, 70 million. You could look at so many other options other than Rice. So in that role where XHAKA plays right now, I wouldn't sign Declan Rice, because as I envision, a player of the quality of Santi Cazorla has got to be playing there. That is not Declan Rice, not even close, all right? But Decas is the other player that Mikel Arteta is looking at. Now, the other option is Mason Mount. Mason Mount has already made it very clear that his options are Manchester United, other than Liverpool and Arsenal. Quite very, very ridiculous to say that. But no problems. If he's a long-time Chelsea fan, he can go to Manchester. He can go to Manchester United. I understand why he wouldn't want to be playing for Arsenal. Now, what has actually made me a little bit, feel weird and awkward is that both of the managers that I rate, highly in the Premier League, Mikel Arteta and Erik ten Hag, are all trying to sign Mason Mount. He's a player, to be honest, that I don't rate at all. I tried to find one thing, and I really struggled to find one thing that Mason Mount is absolutely good at. Is he good at assisting? Is he good at finishing? I really struggle. But I like his work ethic. I like his work rate as well, right? Riding around, relentless, pressing and all that. I think his work ethic is actually, top levels, right? But Mason Mount is not a player I would take at Arsenal. Like, on any other day, just like I wouldn't take Marcus Rashford at Arsenal, even after scoring 30 goals in a campaign, I wouldn't take Mason Mount. Yes, Champions League winner, very vital in that season and campaign when they won the UEFA Champions League. I would still not take him at Arsenal. I would still say, fingers crossed, let him go to Manchester United and become whatever he's going to become. Let Arsenal look somewhere else. Option number 4 is James Madison. Madison has been linked with Arsenal quite for a couple of windows now. I think the last 2 summers, I've seen Arsenal heavily linked with James Madison, and the price tag has been one of the reasons as to why Arsenal failed to sign James Madison in recent times. Now, the positive of this story is Madison will be available for the first time ever for £40 million or less. Newcastle are also breathing down our necks as we try to think about James Madison. But I think Madison would go to Arsenal rather than Newcastle. I'm really, really positive. I've seen reports that Spurs are also interested. I think Arsenal right now are in a better place and a much better place to sign James Madison, convince him, as opposed to Newcastle, Tottenham Hotspur, and all these other clubs. Why I think James Madison would be a perfect replacement for Granit Xhaka, there are few things that Madison doesn't do. Like, I think he doesn't defend well. I think he doesn't have that pressing, that hunger to win the ball back, like players like Xhaka and Declan Rice, right? And Ike Gundogan. So pressing is something that we would have to teach him. But in terms of adding these huge amount of goals, like huge numbers. Just imagine you have the contributions of Odegaard, the contributions of Saka, the contributions of Martinelli, Gabriel Jesus, and Trossard, and then you just have this, amazing contribution from midfield of James Madison. I think that's the kind of player we are lacking. A player with flair, a player with the confidence to take free kicks in every single game, a player whose corners are perfect. I think that's the kind of guy that Arsenal are lacking. An Eden Hazard kind of player. I think it would be our Luka Modric, to be honest. And then that would allow Martin Odegaard to do his thing. He's a game controller, Martin Odegaard. You know, he loves being on the ball a couple of times, dictating the tempo of play, just making sure that everything is in control. So I would really fancy James Madison to replace XHAKA. I would really, really do. But the other two options that are also available, number one is Julian Brandt. Julian Brandt is playing at Borussia Dortmund. I think his contract runs down in 2024. This is the last time Dortmund that Dortmund have to get some good money out of him. The problem with Julian Brandt is that he's played in his career. He's played alongside, he's played in so many positions. And it's very, very hard to say he's that guy who's going to replace Granit Xhaka. He started off his career at Bayer Leverkusen playing as a left winger, where I thought he was actually very, very good. Then at Borussia Dortmund, he played as a number 10, but this season he's been playing more as a central midfielder. I like him. I think he's got the ability to score goals. This season, he's been very, very good. And he's also got the ability to create chances. Really, really, really good chances. It's the same thing with Gabriel Viega, who's had a very, very wonderful breakout season at Celta Vigo. We can't confirm that he's going to be leaving, according to Fabrizio Romano. 40 million euros is the release clause. I kind of imagine that Celta Vigo will be willing to listen to offers below that price tag. They'll be leaning towards around 25 to 30 million euros in Gabriel Viega. The advantage with Viega is that he's a very young player who is playing as a central midfielder. So you bring him in, he's replacing XHAKA. It's more like a like-for-like signing. XHAKA is out, Gabriel Viega comes in, okay? But then you've got to think about it. He's very, very fresh. He's very, very virgin when it comes to Premier League football, high class and high level football. That doesn't mean that he won't work. We've seen a few players come in and they've actually done very, very well. But if we sign Gabriel Viega, I would then reckon that Arsenal should sign Ike Gundogan as well. Ike Gundogan and Gabriel Viega would be the two perfect replacements for Granit Xhaka, but it wouldn't hurt if Arsenal signed James Madison. Madison on the left, you have Odegaard on the right, then you have that Declan Rice guy in midfield. Of course, Arsenal hunting packs. It doesn't mean that we will be exposed in midfield. Our pressing we have one of the best pressing systems in the Premier League. We press in numbers. We work in numbers. So I look at this Manchester City side. They always play with a Kevin De Bruyne, Ike Gundogan, and then Rodri. Rice can be our Rodri. And then you have two players who are very intelligent and smart on the ball. Odegaard, who we know is a magician. When he decides to take risks, like he has done this season, he can be unstoppable. And James Madison, who needs no invitations, who needs no words, when we say he's one of the best creative midfielders in the Premier League. So XHAKA is leaving, but who replaces him? That is the big question.